Mark Baran's with us, Managing Director at CBIZ's National Tax Office. Thank you for being with us. Everybody wants to know I'm glad you're here, the real differences between the two candidates and how taxes will be changed, what could be changed. Would love to hear if you could break it down in a way, that we could understand between Harris and Trump.
Oh, gosh. Well, that's a loaded question. I think it's fairly predictable with Trump. You have a Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that he wants to extend. He wants to leave things as is, pretty much. He's offering some new, tips, for example. Just recently, he said he wanted to remove overtime, a tax from overtime. You're going to hear more of that during the campaign. But really, the primary change, and really this is from a tax policy aspect, is what Biden did and what Harris is continuing and deviating from a little bit. So he had proposed a large $5.7 trillion budget proposal that included radical changes to capital gains, to rates, to really a lot of tax policy issues for revenue raising purposes and for other purposes as well. So there's going to be a battle coming up here in the next, 56 days or 80 days until the election. I'm not sure tax policy is moving the needle as much as it should be, because it's going to have a significant impact on investors.
Yeah, look, you're talking about radical cuts and changes, and could you give us some examples to be clear here? What are we talking about? Who will they benefit?
Well, first of all, the Harris administration, which is leading on what the Biden was doing, is protecting those that make a taxable income or adjusted gross income of less than $400,000. They do not want to see any changes for those individuals in terms of individual taxes. For business taxes, however, I think you're going to see corporate tax rate definitely on the table. You're going to see you're going to see some expiration of some of the benefits from the previous Trump bill, and everything really, Nicole, depends on the election. So we don't know who's going to be in the kitchen controlling what's on the meal. We need to know who is going to be in charge of Congress. It's not the president that's making these laws, but if you want a little more meat on the bone, some of these radical proposals, and I say radical not because they're bad, it's just they're different, includes unrealized capital gain, for example, for those households that make more than $100 million. And that's going to be a tax at 25% that will be spread out over time, but that could really cause a significant change in behavior. It could change, how we administer the taxes, and it certainly could affect investor behavior.
I also think about estate tax and passing on family wealth. Some of your thoughts there?
Oh, certainly. With the estate taxes, again, one of the proposals from the Biden-Harris administration that Harris has adopted is to remove what's known as the step-up at death, so that gains are in fact paid before death and upon gifting. There's also going to be some reductions. So what will happen on the expiration of the Tax Jobs and Cuts Act is that there'll be a reduction in the amount of exemptions, for example. So there's a push now. So people are asking, what do I do about estate planning if some of these benefits are expiring? Should I gift more this time, this year, or should I wait? So in the area of estate and gift, definitely you're going to see some changes.
So if you presume that Harris will win and you are wealthier of older years, what should you do today?
What should you do today? Well, I think a lot of it depends. So I think you're relatively safe if you are in the income bracket of less than $400,000. However, those that are not, should be concerned. You cannot assume that just because you make under a certain amount in an administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat, would like to see that it will happen. Because I think we're still going to have very close margins in the Senate and in the House. And so even if it's a one-party sweep, you're not going to have, I don't think you're going to find you're going to have a major tax reform that's going to affect everybody. So I guess to answer your question is, what should you look out for? You should look out for who's in charge, because that type of scenario planning will be occurring immediately after the election. And then you should think about what likely could expire. You mentioned the estate tax earlier, the estate tax changes. That could expire. There could be some deductions that expire that are very valuable. And there's some benefits that could occur as a result of the expiration. I'll give you an example, like the SALT cap of $10,000. So that could go away as well. So there's so much on the table, Nicole. It is everything really is in play this year. I sometimes refer to it as the tax Super Bowl of 2025, because it is going to be the year of tax policy.
Is there, so you mentioned SALT, right? And that's when you have second homes, right? And you think about the second home taxes and all that and how that changes. How about what would be the best scenario for a tax bracket for someone who is over 400,000? There might be a real plus that could happen, and it could be this.
Right. So I tell you what's okay. When you're looking for what's going to be a real plus, that what might happen is that there could be some piecemeal changes that protect those that are within certain brackets that have been benefiting in the working class. If you're over $400,000, the reversion. So when there's these tax changes, these rate and bracket changes occur at the end of 2005, or the Harris proposal, which increases a lot of those rates, you're going to see tax planning. What you can do is to really keep a sharp eye on how you spend your money and the type of expenditures that you make and how you defer or accelerate income. So if you're expecting lower rates, which a lot of people are, that occur only this year, and it'll go up in the following year, if they think the brackets are going to change, you might want to look at planning opportunities to accelerate that income. There's modeling that can be done, and this should be done frequently during the year, and especially after the election.
Mark Baran, thank you. CBIZ National Tax Office. Thank you for being with us, Mark.